I felt an immediate knot form in my stomach when I stumbled upon something I never could have imagined, my wife's hidden Google account. What I discovered there would shake me to my core, hundreds of photos of my ex-girlfriend. The woman I had been with right before I met Bailey. My mind reeled in disbelief. It all started 9 years ago. I was 36, she was 33, and we met through mutual coworkers. From the moment we met, it felt like fate. She was everything I had been searching for. I had just gotten out of a toxic, abusive long-term relationship, one that had left deep scars. The woman I had been with before Bailey, someone she had known but never really been close to, had no place in my life anymore. I had cut all contact, blocked her on everything. That chapter was closed, or so I thought. Bailey and I got married right after the pandemic's tail end. We bought our first house, and soon after, we started trying for a baby. It wasn't easy, Bailey had PCOS, but last year, we were blessed with our first daughter. I was on cloud 9, living my dream. A perfect wife. A perfect baby. A perfect life. Or so I believed. Then came last Monday. My laptop's battery died, so I grabbed Bailey's work tablet. She wasn't home, just me and the baby. I had never thought twice about using each other's devices. We were always transparent, open with one another. We trusted each other. That's what I believed. As I opened the tablet's browser, something caught my eye. An incognito tab. It was so out of place, so unexpected. I never could have anticipated what it would lead to. A hidden Google account and a photo album labeled XX. I clicked on it, heart pounding. What was I about to uncover? The album contained over 300 photos. To be exact, 348. Of my ex-girlfriend. The woman who had torn me apart, the one who had made me feel like nothing. The woman I had left behind years ago. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing. These weren't random snapshots either. They were personal. Intimate. They were photos from my ex's life, taken over the years since Bailey and I began our relationship. Some were old, candid family shots, some were taken at work functions, some even from her high school yearbook. How did Bailey even get her hands on those? Then there were other, unsettling details. Pictures from vacations, shots of her at events. Idaho, of all places. Work-related photos. Moments captured in crowds, but zoomed in, focusing only on her. Other people in the photos were blurred out, edited out. Just her. Every single time. And then there were the hair photos. An album dedicated to nothing but close-up shots of my ex's hair. A strange obsession, especially when I noticed that Bailey had recently changed her hair. And I realized something chilling, my ex's hair was unique, unmistakable. Bailey had adopted it, almost as if she were trying to recreate it. But it didn't end there. No, there was more. Another album, filled with screenshots of social media comments. Comments from Facebook groups, public posts, things I couldn't access because I had her blocked. I had no idea how far Bailey had gone to track down these obscure details. My ex had moved across the world, yet Bailey had found a way to dig into her life, even from afar. It got even weirder. Links to specific clothes. Outfits. The same blouses, trousers, even a water bottle. I recognized the hiking boots, the sandals, clothes and items I had bought, now being copied by Bailey. She had transformed herself into her. My ex. I felt sick. Betrayed. This wasn't just about clothes or hair or social media. My partner of almost a decade had been silently mimicking my ex, down to the last detail. Bailey had become her. All those years, all that love I thought we shared, it was all a lie. A perfect, suffocating lie. I wanted to scream, to run away with our daughter, to leave everything behind. But instead, I stood there, staring at the screen, feeling the room spin around me. My chest tight, my breath shallow. The sense of betrayal hit like a tidal wave. The trust one had in her shattered. And yet, I didn't know what to do next. How could I confront her? What would I even say? All I wanted to do was leave, to escape with my daughter, to tear the veil off the illusion of the life I thought I had. And then, the sickening thought hit me. Would she even care? I never thought my original post would blow up like this. YouTube, TikTok, it went viral in a way I couldn't have prepared for. The overwhelming flood of responses left me speechless, and I can't even begin to describe how humbling it is. To hear from so many people who've gone through something similar, on both sides, has been eye-opening. I never expected this much attention. But now, I have an update, though it might not be as dramatic as some of you were hoping. Still, it's something. First, I want to clear up a few things. For anyone thinking this post is fake or doesn't make sense, or that our timeline for trying to conceive is too short, or that my wording seems off, well, continue to think that if it helps. It means I've been vague enough to avoid doxing myself. Just imagine this as a creative exercise if you need to. I promise, it's not some embarrassing fantasy. So, no, I didn't actually throw up. That was the panic attack talking. The private browsing tabs that were open on the tablet led to websites with clothing and items that seemed eerily familiar. Another tab was logged into Google Photos. When I switched back from those shopping sites, I saw that the Google Photos tab had already signed out, and I couldn't get back in. Some of the clothing in those photos, I didn't remember seeing on my ex at first, but then it clicked. They were recent shots of her wearing the same clothes. And that water bottle? Bailey had bought it just a few weeks ago. I remembered the exact moment. Now, the hair. Bailey and my ex are both the same race, but my ex always wore her braids in a certain style. It wasn't unique to her, but seeing the photos of Bailey with the same hairstyle started to connect dots. Could Bailey have been obsessed with my ex before she met me? The thought crossed my mind. But no, I don't think so. Bailey grew up here. My ex moved to this area for university. It's not as simple as driving across the border to stalk someone. And no, my ex had no role in our breakup. Bailey wasn't involved at all. So here's the update. The next day, when I had calmed down, I reached out to social workers and therapists. I was planning on confronting Bailey, but the insurance we have only had openings in a couple of weeks. So, despite all the confusion, all the hurt, and all the doubts swirling in my mind, I knew Bailey wasn't a threat to me. We took our baby to her grandmother's and, instead of bottling everything up, I decided to talk to her. I didn't waste time beating around the bush. I asked her to go for a walk with me, and I told her everything I found. The folder. The pictures. Her face turned bright red, and she froze. But at first, she tried to play dumb. It wasn't until I pressed her that she started crying, begging me not to leave. Bailey admitted that it started innocently enough. She said she was just curious about my ex. I guess she wanted to keep tabs on her, but somewhere along the way, it grew into something darker. She became obsessed. It was like she couldn't stop, and as twisted as it sounds, she also wanted to please me. Maybe I talked about my ex more than I realized, and Bailey wanted to emulate the good things, the things I had praised about her. She told me she didn't really know who she was. My ex's image, what she looked like, what she wore, became something Bailey latched onto, something she tried to replicate. She even turned it into a game. Finding things like the right blue water bottle, or that exact green striped blouse. She would search for these items, compare them to photos of my ex, and if she found a match, it was like a small victory. I couldn't understand how she had been able to find so much. Then Bailey explained how she did it. My ex had made a new Facebook account under a different name after I blocked her. Bailey found her profile by searching through my ex's family members and making fake social media accounts. She added enough mutual friends to gain access to my ex's posts. She even weaseled her way into her private Instagram and Facebook groups where my ex's videos were posted. Bailey went as far as searching my ex's school yearbook online to find old photos. Over time, she just collected them. The excitement in her voice as she found something new made it clear this was more than just curiosity. It was an obsession. Bailey even told me that the folder had originally been named Hex, like she was going to tell me she was saving the pictures to put a hex on my ex. But when she created a burner Google account, she deleted the old folder and renamed it to XX. That's when things started to get sloppy, when she got comfortable, and of course, that's when I found it. After a break, we started couples counseling, and Bailey began seeing her own therapist. She still hasn't had an assessment with a psychiatrist, but it's on the agenda. She promised to stop, and in front of me, she deleted the folder. Slowly, some of the clothing items began disappearing from the closet, but I'm still not sure if I can completely trust her. I'm afraid there's another secret account out there, a backup that I haven't found. The physical mimicry has stopped for now. She's not copying my ex's hair anymore. But we're still not okay. I want us to be okay. But I understand if it takes time. And if we end up not being okay, that's something I'll have to accept. What I do know now is that Bailey is incredibly insecure. Probably mentally ill. And she was misled in some way. I don't want to walk away from that just yet. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm not ready to give up on my wife. This update may not be as exciting as some of you were hoping, but I appreciate all the private messages and support. Social media, YouTube, TikTok, it's wild that my story has spread this far. I didn't expect it. I don't know if I'll give another update, but if I do, I hope it's a good one. It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? A multi-level marketing scheme disguised as some miracle cure-all. That's exactly what the LifeWave X39 patches are, a supposed solution that regrows stem cells by reflecting light back into the body. A sticker, just a sticker, sold as the answer to all your problems. But the deeper you dig, the more ridiculous it gets. I've tried my best to research these patches, and here's the thing, the only accounts singing their praises are brand new ones, no history, no credibility. These profiles are all about pushing X39. It's like they exist solely to shill the product. No evidence. Just empty, glowing endorsements. And when I looked deeper into it, it became even clearer. These patches are just overpriced stickers. There's nothing special about them. No magic UV rays. No secret medicine. Just a sticker with an air bubble inside. But the real kicker? My wife and I made it crystal clear, we don't want any part of this nonsense. Not for us, and certainly not for our daughter. Even if these patches were doing something, we refuse to let our child be the test subject. No way! Before we left our daughter with her grandparents, we made sure they had the right medication in case she got sick. You can never be too safe, right? But when we returned early from our trip, because our daughter wasn't getting any better, everything hit the fan. We went to pick her up, and as we undressed her to give her a bath, there it was. An X39 patch on her arm. We froze. It was like a punch to the gut. How could this have happened? We immediately called her parents, demanding an explanation. Their response? It's safe for babies. They even ordered the patches for ages 7 and younger. According to them, it's practically medication. Well, that didn't answer our question at all, did it? It didn't make sense. My wife checked the go bag we had packed with her medicine. There, the Motrin we gave them was used, but barely touched. Her parents tried to justify it by saying someone else in their circle used the patches and saw improvement in a week. But we weren't buying it. We made it very clear we wanted nothing to do with X39. And yet, they ignored us. They did it anyway. Instead of giving our daughter actual medicine, they tried to treat her with this placebo patch. The conversation with my wife went on for over an hour. I didn't catch all the details, but I knew it ended in her screaming at them, telling them that if they tried to come to our house again, we'd call the police. 3 days have passed since then, and the calls have been pouring in. Her parents, her siblings, family friends, they all say we're overreacting, that they were only trying to help. Maybe we did overreact. But we didn't care. We had made our wishes clear, and they disregarded them. Now they're claiming that we're preventing them from seeing their only grandchild over something so trivial. Well, we didn't want to hear any of it. Their actions were wrong, and that was that. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I kind of thank you for leaving your sick baby to go out of town. OP, we didn't leave a sick baby behind. We left her with her grandparents when she was fine. We packed the medication just in case. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Comment 2. You say that like it's snake oil. Was it Advil and cough syrup, or just a generic bottle you labeled infant medication? OP, I literally packed Motrin. I said this in the post. Not some mystery potion. It wasn't a generic bottle with some label slapped on it. And by the way, her grandparents don't even have a nearby pharmacy. We live a solid hour away from them. My wife and I work in healthcare, around sick people all the time. Trust me, we know what we're doing when it comes to medicine. The updates kept coming. About a month ago, I made my last post venting about the X39 madness. Things quieted down for a while. We had no more trips planned, and we started asking my sister to watch our daughter when we had to work. But just as we thought things might calm down, something else happened. 2 weeks ago, out of nowhere, we got a visit from CPS. They had received calls about possible child abuse and negligence in our home. Naturally, nothing of the sort happened. We cooperated fully with the caseworker, who was quick to see the situation for what it was. But when we asked who made the report, she couldn't tell us directly. But we had our suspicions. It didn't take long for us to figure out it was my wife's parents. The shock came when my wife called her mother, straight up asking if she had made the report. Surprisingly, her mom admitted it. But then, of course, she tried to spin it in her favor. She claimed she did it for our daughter's good. That our child was sick, and she was just looking out for her. It was clear our daughter wasn't getting better. How could anyone not see that? We were terrible parents, right? Kids get sick, it happens, but they had to turn it into something far worse. My in-laws weren't just anti-vax when it came to COVID. No, they were against it all, every vaccine, even the flu shot. But here's the kicker. These same people, who wouldn't trust science enough to get their shots, were pouring thousands of dollars into a magic sticker that promised to regenerate stem cells. The hypocrisy was maddening. The irony? Unmatched. My wife, understandably, didn't know how to respond to that kind of absurdity. So she did the only thing she could. She told her mother exactly where to go and cut her out of her life for good. Some people might say we went too far, that we shouldn't have shut them out completely. But as I stand here now, looking back, I can't help but wonder, why didn't we do this years ago? Before we even had a daughter? Then came the inevitable. About a week after the first incident, my mother-in-law showed up at our house. It was my day off, and my wife was at work. She just demanded to see our daughter. Pushed her way into our house, past my arm, without so much as a warning. When I told her to leave, that she had no business barging in like that, her response? She called me unfit to be a parent. That's right, unfit. Because apparently, I was depriving my daughter of the help she desperately needed. And in her eyes, that help wasn't medicine. No, it was the LifeWave patches. Because our child was, in her words, clearly very sick. But here's the truth, our daughter was perfectly healthy. No fever, no stuffy nose. Nothing at all wrong with her. So, I told my mother-in-law exactly what I thought of her. I went off. I told her everything about how she lied to us, how she ignored our wishes, how she had the audacity to call CPS on us. Then, the best part, she had the nerve to show up uninvited, unannounced, and barge into my home. I was done. I told her, flat out, to leave before I called the police. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. As if that wasn't enough, she had to get the last word in. "This isn't over," she hissed, and that was it. I immediately called my wife, who, of course, was furious. The very next morning, we filed a restraining order against both her and my father-in-law. They were clearly out of their minds, and we weren't going to stand for it anymore. The CPS caseworker came by a few more times over the next couple of weeks, part of the guidelines, I suppose. But each time, she found nothing amiss. And on her final visit, she told us that everything was fine, that we were doing well, and she apologized for all the trouble they had caused. The case was closed. But we weren't done. Not by a long shot. My wife and I started looking at houses in another state. We needed to get as far away from my in-laws as possible. Fortunately, our company has offices out there, so a transfer wasn't out of the question. We just needed everything to line up, restraining orders in place, new house secured, and hopefully a fresh start on the horizon. As far as we could tell, things had quieted down for a bit. But just as we thought we could breathe again, something happened. Things took another turn. A few months had passed, and for the most part, everything seemed calm. That is, until my in-laws found out that we were planning to move. Somehow, they got wind of it. And that's when the real drama started. They showed up at our house, just as we were getting ready to load up the U-Haul. And it wasn't a casual visit. No, my mother-in-law blocked our driveway, refusing to move even when we told her we'd call the police. And the nerve of it! Her father tried to block our front door. What were they planning to do? We had a back door, a side door, plenty of ways to leave. But no! They were determined to stop us. My daughter was crying in the background, my wife trying to calm her down as the tension thickened in the air. My neighbor, who had been in the loop, came over to help, but it was clear my in-laws weren't going anywhere. I told them again, and my wife was adamant, 10 minutes to move, or we'd call the police. And then, they wouldn't budge. So, we did just that. We called the cops. Within minutes, they showed up. My in-laws were still yelling, claiming that we were taking their rightful grandchild away, and that we were all damned to burn in hell. But honestly, hearing that just made me laugh. What else could we do? They wouldn't leave, so the police arrested them for trespassing. The kicker? As they were being handcuffed, both of them were wearing the X39 patches. Of course they were. Even the police questioned them about it, but by then, we were too far gone. The whole thing was over. The police were kind enough to call a tow truck, and with that, we were free. Free to finally leave. And we did. We moved to our new house. It's been over a month now, and we're settling in. The peace we've been longing for is finally here. No word from my in-laws, and they have no idea where we are. We've blocked them on everything, and while we'll probably get random calls or messages from unknown numbers asking where we've gone, there's no way they're foolish enough to think we'll actually tell them. Lucky for us, neither this state nor the last one has grandparents' rights, so we're safe. Hopefully, this will be my last update. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Seriously look into a P.O. box and have all mail routed there. OP. We actually did get our mail routed to a P.O. box. Comment 2. Why weren't they arrested for violating a restraining order? OP. We did inform the police about the restraining order. Honestly, I think they just didn't care. They were more concerned with getting them off our property. But one of the final charges they faced was violating the restraining order. The police just didn't seem to care much about that at the time.